Ben Nuelle is the Director of Public Policy and Environmental Programs for Iowa pork producers. He's the guy Iowa pig farmers call to sign up and start tracking. He's taking a lot of calls about it, and he knows why they're so interested. Iowa pig farmers like to know their carbon footprint.
And so these reports basically look at kind of what we're doing in terms of how we can save money on manure, how we are reducing nitrate in the water, that sort of thing, as well as showing those aggregated numbers of conservation practices folks are doing on their land, which include things like a saturated buffer or a bioreactor or a grassed waterway. And so we're continuing to see producers more interested in these types of reports because they also want to know how they're impacting. And again, to your point, we're not also saying, in the beginning it was, well, we're doing these things, but we really didn't have any data to back those up. Well, now we can say we're doing these things, and here's what we're doing and how we're impacting these types of areas like soil, water, and other conservation areas.
It is important that it's not just one or two farms doing a lot. It's everybody doing something.
Yes, and we're continuing to see, obviously, with the pilot year in 2020, we saw initial numbers, but we're seeing those numbers grow every single year as part of these programs because these producers are hearing from their friends. A lot of times you see producers do a lot of things of what their other friends that farm do. And so when they see and hear some of these other producers seeing benefits to these types of reports, it's very good for another producer to say, hey, I think I want to try that on my operation. And I think that's one thing you see is you're going to see different parts of the state are going to need different types of conservation practices where you may have one person say, hey, I think cover crops works really good on my operation. Or you have another person say, hey, well, I want to try something a little more, maybe a bioreactor or buffer strip that they can do next to a river. But the one thing we want to show is that these producers want to leave the land better than they found it, just like everybody else, because essentially, if you don't have those resources in the future, the younger generations aren't going to be able to farm.